Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. What's going on, guys? It's pretty crazy today, but Bitcoin is actually up. The stock market went from like negative 800 points all the way to like positive 100 points. Pretty crazy day. It looks like people actually sold the rumor of the war and then bought the actual war, which I think is insane, first of all. But, if you do the buy the rumor, sell the news thing in reverse, I guess it sort of makes sense. So where does that put us? We're pretty close at 3,900. Now, does that mean I think we're positive for the long run? Absolutely not. I think this is just still people's reaction. You can see it for the last 5 days. We're pretty much even. There's like very little trend for the last 5 days. Yes, the lows have gotten lower, but the highs actually haven't really gotten much higher here. But the highs really haven't gotten lower. And essentially, like if you look at the peak, they've gotten slightly higher, but not really. So I don't really see too much of a trend forming here, at least not on the 5 day. If you go back and look at the 1 month, the 1 month is still down because in the about 15 days ago, we did actually get to 45,000. And now we're down at like 39,000, but it dumped a lot less than I thought a war would actually make it dump. Now, the reason why I don't see a long-term trend is because things are still very volatile. A war introduces a ton of uncertainty onto the market, and fuel prices and energy prices are going to go very, very high. I feel like that's why I actually wouldn't say right now that we're like turning on a bull market until this thing settles down, and who knows when that can be. It might be a very, very long time before we actually get to more of a bullish breakthrough. However, I do think there is very, very strong resistance to the 30,000s, and I don't think we're going to dump too much below 30,000. There might be like a giant wick on some exchange to like 25 or something, but you'll have to pick that up. And that'll only last probably a couple of minutes if that actually happens. But I do think in such a volatile environment, those kind of wicks are definitely possible where we suddenly wick down 10,000 or more dollars within the span of a few minutes especially on smaller exchanges. That's absolutely possible that you could actually take advantage of that. So set your buy orders in over there because this kind of uncertainty definitely does that right now. Right now though, like overall, I would say it's kind of like par for the course. We're basically like straddling a certain line. And if you really look at it, yes, we're still going down from a couple of days ago, but we've definitely like evened out. And I think people had a huge negative reaction when Putin was about to attack. And now that he's actually attacked, people are coming to grips and realizing not all sectors, especially like tech sector, may not actually be affected by Russia as much. Like the energy sector has definitely gone up. The defense sector obviously has gone up. Maybe retail and others will actually be hurt, especially with the inflation. And people are definitely more uncertain about the economy, which means that if they're uncertain about the economy, they shouldn't want to invest in risk assets. However, that doesn't necessarily mean they always say Bitcoin as a risk asset. Maybe some people actually do see it as a hedge against inflation and they'll invest in it. Maybe Russia is actually buying Bitcoin to preserve value on the ruble. There is a very good chance that Vladimir Putin and the oligarchs are actually buying some Bitcoin because they know the value of the rubles has hit an all-time low and it's probably going to continue falling as sanctions go down. And in fact, realistically, the reason they might not be as worried about the sanctions and the ruble going down and the rest of the Russian people are is because a lot of those Russian people don't have access to buy large amounts of Bitcoin and the oligarchs have no restrictions. So definitely they have an advantage over the regular people. So that could be a theory out there as well. Is this war all about buying cheap Bitcoin? Is that why they started the war? Of course not. All those theories about like they started this war because of Bitcoin, they started this war because they wanted to use Ripple or whatever, absolutely ridiculous. There are other reasons there are many, many other reasons, most of which are far greater than use of any cryptocurrency, that they would actually start a war. If you actually look at the geopolitical history of that region, you will actually understand. And also, like, there's a lot of ethnocentrism and nationalism in that region as well. Plus, Ukraine's like one of the biggest breadbaskets of Russia, and they have a lot of natural resources. So Russia wants them for many, many other reasons. But looking at the technical analysis, we haven't actually come back up enough to really change any of the moving averages. The oscillators are, to me, they're pretty neutral. The commodity channel index is not like overbought or oversold. Neither is the stochastic or the RSI. But if you actually look at the exponential moving average, we did actually move that into the positive territory earlier today, but now it's back into the negative territory. So we're sell all the way down to the 200, and the 50 is still way below the 200. Like if the 50 can somehow cross the 200, I would say like that's a really good sign, but we need to be much, much higher. And I don't really know if we can get above 40,000 with a war going on. I mean, we might be stuck here with like giant wicks either way for quite a while. So that means you can snipe buy and snipe sell at fairly large profits if you can catch the right wave on the right exchange. Now, which exchange that is, I don't really know. I don't really do that kind of stuff. My suggestion is just still the yield farm and just write it out that way right now. I think that is probably the best way. And a lot of the smaller yield farming coins, they're probably not going to come up until we turn a foot at around 50K or so. On the weekly, everything is still sell all the way down to the 100. If you look at the EMA for the 50, we're still several thousand below that. The oscillators are actually neutral, but all the moving averages are negative. And for the monthly, it's going to be about the same. Essentially, like I only look at the 10-month, and that's definitely like negative. The oscillators are still neutral as well. Now, the thing is, like, I actually agree with the signals right now because overall, like, war is generally, like I said, war introduces a lot of uncertainty. Uncertainty introduces, like, very volatile markets and generally bearish markets. Markets like certainty with good news. Markets don't like uncertainty. Markets don't like giant inflation. Markets don't like gas prices going up. So I would say overall it is still bearish right now, but there is a chance for, like, but crypto does have like a pretty strong resistance or support in the 30,000s, and it's going to be hard to fall below that because we've already received the initial shock of the invasion. So that's already been priced in. Like Putin invading Russia has been priced in, and unless like the war goes nuclear, which I don't think it actually will, maybe it won't dump that much more. There will still be wicks, like really fast wicks up and down, but we should be like at a pretty even state until further developments happen. If you actually look at tomorrow, yes, the markets are actually down, but only slightly. So there shouldn't be too much movement opening tomorrow, and that depends on what happens the rest of the night. Oil is obviously up, but that's not surprising. But I don't really know how much that's actually going to affect Bitcoin. A higher price for oil would actually raise the price of Bitcoin because it raises the mining cost of Bitcoin. So right now I am still bearish, but there's definitely going to be big wicks either way in the coming days is my guess. And I think the best bet is actually to be either in Bitcoin or stablecoins for right now, unless you want to try to catch those wicks. I think Bitcoin would still be the best choice. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.